Today in the show, it's the continuation of the Batman Eternal recap. So issue number 13 starts with Jim talking to his son, James, and James basically says to Jim that he thinks they are one and the same. So James snuck out of Belle Rev to break into Blackgate and do something for his dad. Then we go to Gotham City Police Department, and it turns out that Bard has a lead on Batman that Forbes is giving him permission to go after. But this is such a big lead that even the media is getting involved. Then we go to Stephanie. She's still at the library, still posting spoilers about her father onto the internet, but then her friend Beth messages her on Facebook, so Steph calls up Beth and is like, hey, what do you want? And it turns out a package turned up at Beth's house and it's ticking. Stephanie is like, no, do not open that box, hold on a moment, but then the box explodes. Back at Blackgate, James has let Jim know that he is going to help Jim break out of prison. But Jim really doesn't want to do that, but James is like, just so you know, these doors are going to be open at this exact time, so you can leave whenever you want. Back in Gotham City, it turns out that Bard wasn't going after Batman at all. He was going after the Falcone gang, and he set this whole thing up so the media would have to be involved. Later on, Forbes demands that the Falcone gang be released, but the media is there ready to publish this as a story, meaning Forbes' hands are tied and the Falcone gang have to be rounded up and all locked up. Then we meet up with Harper and she's broken into a Red Robin's nest, but then Red Robin turns up and he's done a bit of research on the nanobots and he's managed to track down their origin to Japan. Back with Forbes, he's being told off by Falcone over the phone, but Bard and Vicky have managed to tap into the phone call and Vicky's ready to publish this as a story. Elsewhere, we see Stephanie looking at the remains of her friend's home. The home is on fire. Clearly an explosion went off and she has tears running down her face. Next we go to issue number 14 and we have Scarecrow running through Arkham and he is scared. He is scared for the first time ever. Then we see Penguin. He's being forced into a shabby little hotel room. He's obviously not very happy about that, but then someone tells him they know where Falcone is, and Penguin decides that he's going after Falcone himself. Then we have Bard at the mayor's office, and Bard is saying, I know you're the missing link in all of this, and the moment I find evidence on you, you are going under, so you had better work with me here. At Blackgate, it's basically confirmed that Jim is going to choose not to escape and he's just going to be there for a long time. Then at Falcone's hideout, everything's going wrong for Falcone. Nothing is going right. And then Penguin turns up and the two of them start to fight to the death, and it looks like Penguin is going to win, but then the police turn up and arrest them both. It's also confirmed at this point that Forbes has also been arrested. We have a brief sweet scene with Jim talking to Batman, and once again it's just being confirmed that Jim is not going to escape. He's going to do the right thing and stick to the straight and narrow. Then on Red Robin's jet going to Japan, he does a quick scan on his airplane and it turns out that Harper is in there with him. Then we have a brief scene between Bard and Batman, and it turns out that Bard was actually the one that tipped off Penguin as to Falcone's location, which was a tip that cost 12 people their lives. Obviously Batman isn't happy about that, but Bard isn't willing to listen to reason. He's just like, you know, this is our city and we have to do what we have to do to protect it. And Batman doesn't want to hear this, so he leaves. And then this issue ends with us seeing Scarecrow being attacked by Dula Dent. The next issue picks up with Jim Corrigan and Batwing going inside of Arkham to check things out, and it quickly becomes apparent that magic is most definitely involved here. Then on Tim's jet, Tim reveals that he knows Harper is there, and Harper isn't happy that Tim knows she's there and he let her be uncomfortable for the entire flight. And he's just like, well, that's kind of your punishment for sneaking on. Tim tells Harper to stay behind, and obviously Harper is not going to do that because she wants to sort things out about her brother for herself. Back at Arkham, to cut a long story short, things just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder until both Jim and Batwing began to get attacked by magical creatures. Back at Gotham, it's kind of revealed that Bard is cleaning out the gangs in Gotham, one gang at a time, and he's sticking to the straight and narrow, a lot like Jim Gordon. But it's becoming evident by the size of his actions that he's becoming a little bit power hungry, so Batman's keeping a very close eye on him. Back with Jim and Batwing, the fight doesn't go well and Batwing ends up being dragged through the floor. Then in Rio de Janeiro, Batgirl and Red Hood are both following Batgirl's lead, doing Batgirl's mission, and who should they run into but Batwoman. Turns out that Batgirl's lead is coincidentally linked to the crime Bible, which is kind of Batwoman's shtick. We then see Batwing about to be attacked by Dula, and then we see Jim Corrigan being handled by a man called Mr. Bygone. The next issue picks up exactly where issue 15 left off, with Jim kind of screwed and Batwing in the hands of Dula, and Dula is using the suit to contact Batman and be like, everything's fine, Batman, this is Batwing, yep, everything's fine, and Batman cannot tell the difference. We then see Bard and Vicky, and it's becoming obvious to even Vicky that Bard is becoming very power hungry. We then go back to Arkham and Pig is being checked in and shown to his room, and then he discovers the current reality of Arkham, and Professor Pig is terrified. We then see Tim and Harper, and Tim is attacked by these giant metal tentacles, so the two of them have to work together to get rid of these giant metal tentacles. Anyway, Tim tells Harper off for tagging along even though he told her to stay behind, and then an old man turns up and is like, great, you survived the tentacles, you can now talk to me. Then we're back with Jim and he finally stands up for himself and defeats Mr. Bygone and cleans himself up, and then we cut over to Batwing. Then we're back with Dula and Batwing manages to break free, but that's no good because then Dula calls some guy called Maxie to defend her. Now Maxie is this giant brute of a guy who's catatonic. It's also worth mentioning that Maxie is something called the Vessel, although that's not really explained in detail at this time. Anyway, Batwing knocks Maxie out and asks its suit its status, and then says to the suit that it has to start repairing itself. Jim then turns up and tells Batwing that the two of them need to find some kind of altar, and Batwing is like, oh, I saw that just down the hallway just now. And the two of them are about to head towards it, but then who should turn up but Maxie possessed by Deacon Blackfire. And the next issue is called The Deacon, meaning you'll find out more about Deacon Blackfire in the next episode. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. What do you think of Batman Eternal so far? Please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more recap videos. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so I can hit that A-list character goal and make bigger and better videos, and subscribe to my gaming channel. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.